Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Hollis Chapman Show on Blog Talk Radio this Mother's Day weekend. I want to wish all the mothers out there happy Mother's Day, and we're all thinking about you. If your mother's not close, let's send her your prayers and your thoughts and give her a call, send her a card, flowers, chocolates, whatever it may be. But again, this is a great weekend for mothers, and we wish you a happy Mother's Day. Our first guest here today, she's coming back to the show, and we always love that when they come back to the show. Jennifer Elizabeth Masters. She's coming back here to talk about her new book, her business, what she's got going on. I'm going to read a little bit about Jennifer's stuff. Jennifer's got a wonderful blog. She'll look at great stuff, really easy to navigate. And she's in the business of sexuality. Okay, one of her big headlines in her blog is "Orgasm for Life." That's some type of her book. Okay, we're going to talk about it. Relationships and getting that partner and all the things that details a great relationship that leads to a great quote orgasm or just sexual experience. And it's awesome. And she's here to talk about that. And just read some of one thing from her blog. One lady says, "Hello, Jennifer. You've changed her life. Everything is different now. Though she left her relationship, and she lives by herself now, but she's realigned." Okay, so it's kind of getting a little deep, realigned. I know it's hard, especially as you get older yourself. But with Jennifer's advice, she's alone, but she's feeling good about herself. She's realigned. Things are looking great for her. And that's what Jennifer can do for you. You can get you in a good place, get your life in balance, so you can meet the special someone, so you can have a great relationship, and you have a great relationship in the bedroom. Because, we want to admit it or not, if you're not doing great things in the bedroom, there could be potential for a downfall in a relationship. So don't let that happen. Contact Jennifer. So without further ado, let's welcome to our show, Miss Jennifer Elizabeth Masters. Hello, Jennifer.
Thank you, Hollis, for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming back to the show. We always appreciate that. And I know it's a special weekend for all the moms. And so to you taking time out to be with us, we appreciate that. So thank you very much for coming back to the show. And happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Introduce yourself and then introduce and say little things about your new book. And it's, talk about yourself. Get a little story about yourself, your books, and why you chose this field. Because it's a tough field to be in. Because one thing, it's so many books and so many, quote, gurus out there talking about this. But tell us, explain to us why Jennifer is the way to go if you want to get a little help with that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, my experience of life and learning was through relationships. I had challenges in my childhood. I was molested early, and that kind of tainted my life experience early on. And I was really negative, depressed, and felt very unworthy and shamed. And so it took me really into my 50s before I really shifted that and began to love myself. And it took me quite a few years to do it. I did it on my own. I did try therapy, and it didn't work for me. But each modality that I tried, like hypnotherapy, I went to a hypnotherapist, and that helped me. So I became a hypnotherapist. I saw an energy healer, and that helped me. And so I became an energy healer. And I worked with a life coach, and that helped. So I became certified as a life coach. And I'm intuitive. I've been intuitive since my childhood, and I use all of these things, all the modalities that I just named in my coaching. So it isn't just a coach that you'd be coming to. It's an energy healer, a hypnotherapist. I have all sorts of tools that I use because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the other. But what I discovered was that in all of my relationships, and I've been married and divorced 4 times, is that I was the common denominator, and I learned and discovered that, instead of blaming my partner, that my outer world was a reflection of what was going on inside of me. And when I shifted inside and began to lovingly accept all of me, even my warts, my foibles, my faults, then my whole outer world began to change.
Jennifer, you say one thing I addressed, you said you really started to take hold of your inner thoughts at age 50 or in your 50s. That's a long time. You had some abuse at a young age, and in the 50s you kind of open up and start to see the light. Why do you think it took you so long? And again, it doesn't really matter how long, as long as you do it. I'm getting you did. If you see if you go to her blog, you see her just a light and smiling, this joyful person. So you never know. But why do you think? This share is why do you think it took into your 50s to kind of let things open up?
Well, because the manner of abuse that I experienced, it was very profound. The closer the people are that molest you, the more profound the trauma is. And for a period of time, I was really depressed, and I actually felt like I was insane. And I know a lot of women, I've talked to hundreds of women who've been molested that have experienced the same thing, where they feel absolutely broken and insane. And so it was a very slow process for me because I did it on my own. Had I had a coach to help me through and guide me through all the processes that I learned myself, it would have been much faster. Now, were things better for me in my 40s than my 30s? Absolutely. And really my journey started at 32. That's when I basically came out with the trauma and talked to my family about it.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you're feeling good. Things are going the way you want it to go. So you want to start writing, and you write a book. And one of the books you're going to talk about today is, my question to you is, what inspired you to write Orgasm for Life?
Well, I had an awakening when I was living in Boulder, Colorado in 2012, and I began to have mystical experiences, and God spoke to me and told me I needed to write about sex. And I said, what, sex? Because I was basically a spiritual mentor. I was teaching people how to awaken, how to meditate, and doing life coaching. And I wondered, what on earth, why would God want me to write a book about sex? And what was said was, millions of people are motivated by sex, and they will come to spirituality through this means. And I said, okay then, who am I to argue with God? So, yeah. Who created sex anyway? It was God.
Hello, you there, Jennifer?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Yep.
Okay. The other thing was that I was non-orgasmic for most of my life, and that, and because I've had that experience, 40% of women who were molested also have that dysfunction, and it isn't a medical issue. It's not a physical issue. It's purely psychological. And so being non-orgasmic, I began talking to many women, and it seems to be an all-pervading theme that men think they're doing a good job in the bedroom, and most women, 80%, are faking it. 26% fake it all the time, which is bad.
Let's go back. How do we make it work then? Is it a lot of the guy's fault because the ego comes into play, so the woman don't want to hurt the ego, or men should just say, hey, in this day and age, men, just to stop, okay? The thing is, let's please our mate. Let's please our partner. So we should have, is it more communication? Is it more, do you watch the movies and say, hey, like this, you like this? Or how do you bring it up? So say you're talking to me, and I'm saying, hey, my spouse, she's just not orgasmic. Well, how do we start to fix that? So I'm in your session right now. Say, Hollis, this is what you start to do. to get you both on the same page so that can possibly happen? Go ahead.
Well, there's a couple of things that need to happen. First of all, eye contact.
Yeah.
Maintaining eye contact through the sex act keeps you connected. Women especially that have been traumatized. Are you getting an echo?
No, I'm good. Sounds great.
Okay, so women that are traumatized often disassociate through the sex act. And what I mean by that is they basically leave their body. They go out into the ether somewhere. And so because they're not fully present, because they're not fully grounded in their body, they're not able to have an orgasm because somewhere back in time they had to survive. And so they disconnected from themselves. And so being grounded, being connected, staying in contact, talking, speaking to your partner, hey, baby, stay with me, look at me, does this feel good? And talking, constant talking with your partner will really keep you connected to you. And the breath work. We often hold our breath. When women hold their breath, they choke off the orgasm. You need oxygen to have an orgasm. So if you're holding your breath or you're stressed and you're holding your jaw tight, and that's what I started noticing with myself, is that I had my mouth shut and I had my jaw clenched. Well, an orgasm is about letting go. And women, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but women will run around for hours and they have to pee, but they're holding onto their pee. And so we hold in so many different ways. We hold our anger in, we hold our emotions in. You ask us how we are, we say, I'm fine, and we're not, so we're holding a lot in. So unfurling, it's like this letting go process that starts with the breath, starts with relaxation, relaxing the jaw, opening the mouth. When the mouth is open, then the other parts of the body that need to can open and relax. So those are ways, and being present. So like I said, speaking to your partner and staying with that deep breath.
Very good. Hey, listening to what you're saying, it's 90% communication and stuff. What's your thoughts? Because my thoughts about this is kind of like, what's your thoughts about being a virgin before you get married? And the reason why I say that is where it's just like a lot of things we do in our life. You got to learn to improve and go from there. You're not born being great in the bedroom. You're not born to be able to talk to your partner sexually, to let it all go. I mean, even though it's something that's made to happen, it can be very embarrassing to talk about that. So, what's your thoughts on being a virgin before marriage? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's interesting. I have a couple of clients, actually, Hollis, that are virgins, and they're well into their 40s. And my sense is, because I work with people all over the world, and in the United States, we have a tendency to be much more free when it comes to sex. But it's almost like you're tainted if you're a virgin in this country. And I feel that if you want to be pure and chaste until you marry and hold yourself out for that person, I think that's a beautiful thing, and I'll tell you why. Because you have a lot less baggage to deal with when you haven't had multiple partners. And then, your partner can help you learn, or, you can learn together. Seeing a sex counselor or a sex coach, can help you. But there's a lot of books out there that can also teach you, too.
Great point. Okay. So let's go back to your book now. And you wrote, I said again, awesome book. What, in your thoughts, what do you hope to achieve with your book as a writer and also as a business person who want to obviously make money? What's your thoughts on what you want to achieve with your book?
Well, the purpose for writing the book was to bring men and women together. There's a huge chasm, and I wanted to bring men and women together, although we're different, and, we need to look at our partners as, this is awesome that you're different, because look at, puzzle piece A fits into puzzle piece B beautifully. But the communication isn't there. Women are so afraid to speak up about what they need and what they want. And the reason they're afraid is because that fear is in our DNA. For hundreds of years, women have been raped, we've been mutilated, we've been assaulted, we've been killed over sex. So this is in our DNA. I mean, it's been proven that our cellular memory holds, generations of issues. So bringing everyone together and bridging that chasm so that men and women can communicate in a loving way instead of blaming each other. And the unconditional love of self is the cornerstone of that.
You mentioned about how powerful the sex thing is, and again, I'm not going to tear off this subject too much, but I think you've probably seen the story about the owners of the Clippers and his racist comments, stuff like that. But as soon as I heard him talking, I knew it was sex-based. It was a sexual thing. He's jealous probably or hurt with something else, and that's how powerful it is in our world. That how sex is. It's an amazing thing. This is a billionaire man who can probably get any woman he wants, but because of the sex things involved, he loses everything in 1 week because of this sex thing. And again, that'll come out eventually, probably, but that was my first thought. How powerful is this thing we have in sex? It will make men do crazy, crazy things. Isn't that amazing, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I wrote an article about the incident, actually, right off the bat. I psychically knew that he murdered her. And, it happens all the time that men are killing their wives and girlfriends. And women do it too, but it's predominantly men killing the women, because they're so jealous they don't want anyone else to have us. There was an incident in Atlanta when I used to live there where a man had roses delivered to his wife that exploded in her face, and she died. There's so many horrible things that happen. So having an understanding, and see, generally speaking, when a man has that much rage and jealousy, there is low self-esteem involved. And that's why I teach self-love. When you love and accept yourself, then the jealousy isn't present. It's when you feel this lack and unworthiness that you're so afraid your partner's going to leave you. When you feel filled, then, you feel much more secure and you're not in fear.
That's great tips. Hey, how do we follow up with you? What's the website that we should go to follow up with your books and then follow up for your services? What's the website?
My website is JenniferElizabethMasters.com. You can get my blog through my website, but you can also reach my blog through Love Yourself Fearlessly, and it's a blog spot. And I post all kinds of information on my blog, so there's lots of information there. And you can contact me through my website and set up a discovery session, see if we're a good fit.
Outstanding. And your blog is done awesome. I love looking at your blog. I'm looking at it right now. The colors and everything. Matter of fact, the colors is like a Valentine's thing. So it's really nice. Very, very nice. Easy to navigate. Yeah, easy to navigate. Great information. So outstanding. All right. We can go back to your book again. And it's one of the questions you mentioned. Well, what will people get out of reading your book besides being turned on? So is it graphic? Should we get a heads up saying, hey, you may see some words there that, but this is just a good book. It's just a good book. Tell you the truth. Go ahead. Talk to us about it.
Well, part of it is, it's funny because my 92-year-old mother read 50 Shades of Grey, and I haven't read it, but she said to me, Mom, Jennifer, it was a terribly written book. So I have a little erotica in the book, and to be honest with you, if this book doesn't turn you on, then
nothing will, huh?
I don't know what will. There are a few words in there, but I don't drop the F-bomb too many times, but I do use it on occasion. But I'm honest and detailed about my explanations. I want to be very clear as opposed to dancing in the gray areas, leaving people questioning, what the heck does she mean here? I want to be helpful with my guidance for men and women. So, yes, there's very clear guidance on how to please a man and how to please a woman. And I also have, it's kind of a lighthearted look at each other as well. And I have a chapter on men speak and women speak because we do speak so differently.
It's so much out there about this subject, and it's going to always be. It's a huge subject in our society. I'm going to put you in charge right now. You're in charge of sexuality in the United States of America. Starting next week, what should us as humans do to improve our sexuality, because we're living longer, so the sexual thing is I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. He's 82. He's on his personal profile, so he's looking for a mate, and I said to him, what is it? Is it the sex or is it the companionship? And he said, no, both. This is an 82-year-old gentleman, okay? So we got most of us have a lot of years to go, and like in the years past where maybe we die at 56, so we don't live as long, but now we're living longer. How do we deal with making our companionship and sexuality better for the future? Because we're going to live a long time, and we're going to want it in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. What would you tell us? What would we start doing starting next week?
Well, I would recommend that women would say yes instead of no, that they would take care of their bodies better, eat better, exercise more often, and men too, because when our bodies are healthier, then we will enjoy more aspects of life more fully. And being healthy in bed, now I had a lover die on me right after making love, so I know what it's like to have someone die right after lovemaking. It's a very painful experience. I really hope that nobody else experiences that. It's really hard to deal with. So stay healthy and have regular sex, because as we get older, if we're not having regular sex, our hormone levels will drop, and regular sex will keep your hormone levels up at their optimum levels. Not to mention, you can make love all day long, and I'm not talking about boinking all day long. I'm talking about eye gazing, appreciating your lover, appreciating your spouse, giving them a kiss, telling them, and I'm not talking about a brush across the mouth. I mean a kiss, one that is remembered as you go out the door, so that you leave her thinking about that all day long. Give her a text during the day and say, oh, baby, I can't wait to see you tonight. Or for the women, to leave their man with a whisper of what they'd like to do to them at the end of the day. It's Friday night, ladies. Keep them thinking, about how wonderful you are as a lover and a partner to keep them interested. Because if you won't, there's somebody else who will.
Yeah, and that's a whole different story there too, man. It's so easy now to get divorced and stuff like that. Again, we're going to come back later on to talk about that part of it, stuff like that, because a lot of times when you do get divorced, it's probably because of financial and sex. And that's just so weird how that is, but when it really comes down to it, that's what it is. The lack of sex in the bedroom or lack of attraction and whatever. And again, like women, is not the more visual as a man is, so it's a point where it's just a lack of communication. That's there. I know me and my divorce is just I wasn't communicating. I was not talking to her. Wasn't I making her feel like she belonged and we were together to just not make her feel like it. So she says, okay, you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to be married. So it was just my fault, and I admit that openly about that. But again, another time in the show, how can we bring that divorce rate down? How do we bring it down? How do we make the marriage important again? Or should it be?
That's a really great question.
Go ahead.
It's a really good question. I'm an interesting candidate to talk about divorce because I've done it 4 times. But let me just share this with you. I have 3 children, and 2 of my children experienced 2 divorces. And divorce for kids devastates them. And the statistics show a really sad tale that children, the products of divorce, are more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to be arrested. They're more likely to commit violent crimes. They're more likely to commit suicide. They're more likely to have drug overdoses. So, we need to stay together, make a commitment that divorce isn't an option. And let me tell you why. Because our relationships are supposed to be for helping us heal, grow, and evolve. And people miss that point. People say, oh, this is too painful. I'm out of here. I'm going to go find somebody else. But let me tell you, you're going to find the same issues in another marriage because you're the same person. And see, that's what I discovered. I kept looking for a better man, a better relationship, a better marriage. But you know what? That's a BS story. We make that up in our heads. The only way you can have a better marriage is for you to be a better partner, for you to love yourself more completely, and to take divorce off the table. I've talked to hundreds of couples that have been married for 40, 50, 60 years. And the way they did it was by appreciating their spouses, by not having divorce as an option. There will be conflict in marriage. There's bound to be conflict. Learning how to process it without blaming your spouse or partner is the way to go. So we need to learn how to deal with conflict as opposed to avoiding it. So we need to talk. We need to work through issues, and the commitment has to be made and kept that no matter what, I will stick with you, no matter what. And, of course, if there's abuse involved, then that, to me, that changes the whole playing field.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and again, like I said, I was just reading this last week in an article online, and divorce rate is still flying high, stuff like that. But it just is not just easily accepted as it was back in the day growing up. And I didn't realize why people stay together because of children. And like you're saying, now I understand that when there's a child involved. And it's like, I understand now why our parents did that, because I said how disturbing, how hard it is on a child. So we got to work harder at that. We really do. We really, really do.
It really does affect their self-esteem.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And even a bad marriage is better than a divorce.
Wow. Okay.
My parents were married for 49 years. And believe me, it was challenging. My father, was very hard-headed and stubborn, and my mother had a lot of dysfunction. She was an orphan at 5. So they struggled in a lot of ways. They struggled financially. I know they struggled with sex. And they struggled, with their children because having 4 kids is an issue. As a matter of fact, I just recently read an interview with a man I think he's 112, and he said that the key to longevity is not having children.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change, the fact that I'm a mother of, 3 beautiful children for anything. They've added such beauty to my life experience. I wouldn't change that in a million years.
Just from a parent standpoint, I think maybe he meant because when stress is involved, because we care so much. We want them to have better when we've done. We want them to be successful. We want them to be happy, and then it breaks our heart when we don't see them happy. I know my son, he got his girl, broke his heart. It bothered me. It bothered his mom. Matter of fact, his mom to this day does not talk to the girl. She can't stand her, because she broke our baby's heart. So it's one where I can understand where you're coming from, because there's a lot of things that come with it. You don't want to say no to them. You got to put your foot down sometimes. That ain't this. Well, you ain't get it. And all of a sudden you can see the sadness in his face. It's like, oh, God. So, yeah, I can understand the stress involved in having children.
Let me share this, though. I have a very different take on children than my mother did. And of course, it's because of the age, difference, how much we've changed and evolved since, my mother was born in 1922. But I found that my children taught me a lot about myself. My daughter's turning 18, as a matter of fact, in less than 2 weeks, moving away from home and going to college in another
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to be an empty nester for the first time in 32 years. But she has turned around because we're honest with one another. I've taught her to be honest. And so when I'm in my story or I'm not seeing things clearly, she'll point it out to me. And I accept it. I receive it, as opposed to saying, well, what do you know? You know, you're only 14 or whatever. But she has always had wisdom beyond her years. And as parents, we just need to quiet our ego enough to be able to receive it, because our children have lots of wisdom to teach us.
That's awesome. Hey, Jennifer, unfortunately, we're down to the end. So before we get to the final comment, please tell us how we contact you, what's your website, and tell us the title of your book again, please.
Okay, my book first will be out at the end of May. It's called Orgasm for Life. And my website is jenniferelizabethmasters.com. My book will be available on Amazon and through my website. And my blog is Love Yourself Fearlessly. You can contact me either way, and I receive my email. So please do, if you're interested, email me. Nobody else reads them but me. Thank you for having me, Hollis.
Yeah, final comment before you take off. I know it's Mother's Day weekend. You want to get out the door. I understand that. We got a final comment for you, though. Final comment. What turns Jennifer on, creativity-wise, spiritually, or emotionally? What's it? Those three things put together, what really gets you fired up in closing?
I love the beauty of nature. I love being outside. I love walking. It doesn't matter whether I'm at the beach, the desert, in Boulder, Colorado, in the mountains, at the lakes in Ontario. I love nature, and I feel that that is the way we experience God on all levels. As far as love and sexuality, I love being accepted completely for who I am. That really turns me on.
Outstanding. Jennifer Elizabeth Masters, please have a great Mother's Day weekend. You have a great time with your daughter. Wish her a happy birthday from the Hollis Chapman Show, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a second break here, and we go back with our next guest. All right, we're having fun this Mother's Day weekend. Don't forget to say Happy Mother's Day to your mothers out there, all right? So let me say this real quick.
Happy Mother's Day.
There you go, okay? So just spread that word. We're going to take a break. Be right back on the Hollis Chapman Show on Blog Talk Radio. Hey, welcome back to the Hollis Chapman Show on Blog Talk Radio. We had our first great guest this Mother's Day weekend, and make sure you say Happy Mother's Day to your mother. Our next guest is waiting in the wings, and he's here to talk about his business. It's been great to have him. Our next guest, let me see if I can pull up a little information on him. His group, his company, his blog is the Madco Group, and I want to see if I can get, here we go, something about him. First, James My Oh Ho. I may pass that incorrectly, but I'm sorry. About his company, his commitment to clients is second to none. Define and implement the actions and practice needed to correct or eliminate the roadblocks to success. That's James and his company, okay? Let me see if I can work on pronouncing his name correctly. His name is James My Oho, okay? He's here to talk to you about his business and his things he does to help succeed. We want to welcome to the show. So let's welcome to the show without further ado. Mr. James Myoho. Hi, James. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, Hollis. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and apologies for your mispronouncing your name. You know, the more I practice it, the worse I get. So I sit there and said, okay, I got to stop now. So I overanalyzed it and I screwed it up. I was doing good yesterday, not today, so I apologize.
No worries. I feel that way myself sometimes.
There you go. Okay, so just kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little about yourself. And yes, you got a new book, and talk a little bit about your new book, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, my name is James Myoho. I have, among other things, a small boutique consulting business. I've been in the sales and business role for over 25 years now, and had the good fortune to work with a number of different companies in a variety of areas, not only in revenue production, but in business turnaround, strategic planning, and really getting to the core of what is happening with personnel now. So that is kind of what I do as a business. I have business degrees from Aquinas College. I also have music degrees, so I'm fairly well studying and have been a lifelong student of sales, revenue, production, as well as consumer behavior and corporate dynamics, organizational behavior. The book you referred to, the first one was entitled Winners Give Up, which is sort of a starter to be an instigator for self-help, getting yourself ready to overcome certain things to get you in a position to succeed in whatever that is that you choose to do. And I have an upcoming book, which is the working title is I Am Not, in parentheses, a Salesman, which gets into a lot more of the nuts and bolts that we'll probably talk about today.
Okay, very good. You know, you talk about personnel. I want you to go back a few. You said you've been 20-something years, you've been in the business. What do you see the major difference now with technology and personnel back then and personnel technology now? Because we're in such a fast-paced world, change, keep up with the technology. How, when you talk to the personnel, you go to a company, talk to them and their people, how do you talk to them and say, hey, you got to be an open mind. You got to be available to change with the times. How do you address that issue?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and it depends on a lot of different factors. Really, it depends really on where nowadays the age of the person you're talking to, because there really is a stratification of experience and acceptance towards technology, if that's what we're talking about. So there's a level of different languages that are going on simultaneously in any business in regards to technology, outlook, how things are done, experience with customers, views on customer satisfaction. So senior level CEO, somebody that is in their 40s or 50s or has some experience in their marketplace or in their vertical, is adapting but speaks a completely different language than somebody that is entry level or younger. So you have to try to find a way to bridge all of those to get some sort of coherent experience or get people on the same page and breaking through those different language barriers.
You know, that's a great point, James. I wanted to say to you, or just mention out there, is that people who are 50s and up, 45, 50s and up, 60s, they should not be afraid of technology. They should kind of grasp it the best they can, because I've talked to a couple of people last this week and over 50s and 60s, and it's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. This smartphone, this laptop stuff is crazy. Well, like I said to them, well, I understand it's tough for you, but that's the language of today. That is the language of today. That's how you can converse with different people, younger you, because, the business they were in, they're sitting there talking about doing this, and this. I said, well, when you sit there and prove them that you don't know what you're talking about today, they're not really going to buy into what you're trying to sell. They aren't. This is how these people communicate. When they want to go, when they want to know about your business, they're going to go online. If you have nothing online, they're going to move forward. Is that correct? Is that something how they can't be afraid of technology, kind of trying to teach them how to deal with technology today? Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And what you're saying really affects an organization revenue-wise or customer experience-wise on two levels. The senior level people have to, if they're not going to absolutely accept the technology, they at least have to be able to speak the language if they're not going to embrace the efficiencies that it can do for themselves. But, companies that are struggling or not getting to where they want to be usually make one of six mistakes or all of six general mistakes. And one of them is not understanding their customers' wants and needs and pre-qualifying their customers updated on a regular basis. So when you're trying to speak Arabic to somebody that speaks German, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not on the same page. You're not going to be effective, one, in understanding who your client is, but two, drilling down and sending the message that you want perceived to the marketplace or your client, whoever that is.
Yeah. Very good. All right. James, okay, you've one of the questions I sent to you is, what is the first step to better? Okay, so you're sitting there, you're doing your stuff, you're talking to people, you're talking to different companies, you put your books out there, and one of the itching questions to everybody is, what is the first step to better?
Yeah, that's a good question too, and that's also dependent. There's a couple things. The first step to better generally starts with the individual, and that is going to affect any size of organization. And if we're talking the terms of an organization, it starts with the principal. And the first step to better is really understanding who and what you are right now as a person, as an organization, as a manager, as the division head, whatever the case may be. And sometimes that means taking a hard look in the mirror, taking an honest look at, say, your books, taking an honest look at your systems, taking an honest look at what you're doing in the marketplace, and having a real hard accepting look of where the flaws are, because a lot of managers, a lot of owners, especially small business owners that have built up a business, are blind to a lot of the things that are holding them back to being better, and accepting what those are, of laying them out, qualifying them, quantifying them, and then taking the first step forward, and taking the first step forward towards what they really want as a goal. And they have to determine that as an individual. What do they really want? Well, one could say, I want $1 million worth of sales. Well, what does $1 million worth of sales mean? What $1 million worth of sales means is maybe that manager gets X amount of bonus, or maybe the organization gets X amount of profit from that, and that leads to this. It leads to a cottage. It leads to maybe his kids going to college. Maybe it leads to this. That's really what the manager wants. That's what the organization wants. That's what the owner wants. So it's a matter of really being honest and defining those things, and then taking the steps, working it backwards to drive towards the real goal. And then people can do it with some sort of zeal and passion.
Yeah, there you go. And great, you said passion. It's a great segue into share with us, because you're part of our passion series with our guests. Share with us how passion has played a big role in your growth, your books, and just how you're doing with your business right now.
Yeah, for me personally, in my business and personal experience, passion and determination at certain points of my life were the only thing that were keeping me alive and my kids fed. There have been real low points in my career that I've had to dig back out of based on, my poor business and poor personal decisions. And so that has kind of given me a different appreciation and understanding of kind of when you bring yourself back, what emotionally and personally you have to go into whatever endeavor is in front of you. And I think when people attack things with passion, you can really, and it sounds trite to say move mountains, but you can climb back up out of a hole or climb up that mountain that's in front of you if you do it with some sort of passionate and emotional commitment. And that goes back to the previous question we talked to. First you have to identify what that is, and then you can be honest with yourself and pursue that. And if you're not passionate about something, or it's not something that you really want, then, maybe you just need to take a big breath and switch to something else or move on to something else. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Hey, James, thanks for sharing that. That's a nice story. Obviously you've probably overcome some tough times there. You come out and do some great things, and we appreciate you sharing that passion show with us. I just looked at your blog. I like this good question or good comment here. I like this a lot. Each engagement is unique and customized. Explain that, and that's so true. I mean, my thoughts while I'm thinking what that means. But explain to our listeners what that means. Each engagement is unique and customized.
Yeah, because I only take on a select clients when I really believe that it's mutually beneficial. One, for me, either to learn or for experience for my company, and that I believe that there's going to be follow-through and belief and the value to the business. And everything, each business organization is completely different. Every human's different. An organization is just like an organism with moving parts in it, with a different things that make it work or not work. And that really starts with bottom of what is going on inside of a company. And it doesn't matter what revenue level you're at. All of these things that basically exist. And sometimes, organizations being held back by bad decision-making of the owner. Sometimes there's personal issues where there's skeletons in the closet. Sometimes, you've got a company that's been built up out of nothing. You've got an entrepreneur that's very proud of their business, and they're just flying by the seat of the pants. But the key to making every engagement different is really understanding what those things are in each organization, and then laying out some sort of method to attack and correct those, bring those to the surface. I certainly don't do anything cookie cutter. There's lots of people that do that, and if that were going to be the case for me, I would just refer somebody to go ahead and get the 10-day MBA book and fix yourself.
Right.
And the problems go much deeper than what's in the books and numbers in front of you most of the time.
Very good. Hey, James, let me give you something to think about, too. Because, again, I really like that statement, engagement, unique and customized. Well, I was talking to a gentleman last week. He's working in where marketers are out and about. They're out in malls and stuff like that marketing their wares. And I told him, I go, you have to listen more. Okay, you got to listen more. I go, don't just keep on pitching to everybody. One thing, not everybody's is your niche. You just throwing things out there and hoping something sticks. I go, you got to stop doing that. But I said, listen more, and then you can get the uniqueness, so you can get the engagement from these people, and you customize what you already know to them. You know what I mean? You customize because again, he was just pitching to everybody, talking the same thing to everybody. I go, what are you doing? Not, talk less, listen more, and then you got to be able to. This is where you get talented. You got to be able to customize your pitch on the fly to fit that unique. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a real common problem, especially with young quote unquote salesmen. The book that I have coming out next, titled "I Am Not a Salesman," addresses that issue. And I partway through the book, I exchanged the label salesman with solvesman. And you have to learn how to be a solvesman. And it doesn't matter what particular solution your offering is, you have to be able to ask a couple questions and then be quiet and let the person tell you what's going on and figure out if, one, on a legitimate basis, if your solution can bring value to that person. And you have to be open and able to walk away from that if it's not. But once you start, exactly like you said, listening more and talking less, because everybody's different. Every organization's different. And people hear what you're saying through their own prism of experience and through their own cognitive dissonance. So they're not hearing what you think that they're hearing. That's why you want to have them reveal and let them make the buying decision from you.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, it kind of. I mean, I thought I was right, but that kind of clarifies a lot more and made me feel good because I thought I did a good job at telling him that because it got to a point where I was getting mad. I go, "What are you doing? I go, you have to stop doing that. You're talking too much." She probably heard 2 words of what you just said. Stop that. And then she just gives me a dirty look. I go, I don't care. You just got to stop doing that. So, okay.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Part of the reason that guys do that, right, is especially with that kind of position, you're quota driven, right? And you've got somebody that's, and when I was in my young career, I sold chimney sweeps and high pressure stereos, and that's the way you're driven to do it because you're numbers driven. Sure, a little bit, or shift your own paradigm. And if you look at the customer's wants and needs, and your role really is just to solve some sort of problem for the person that's in front of you at that moment, then your behavior shifts. And people become a lot more receptive to that because you're authentic and they believe in trusting you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Okay, I'm going to go back to your book, Winners Give Up. So when a person first sees that on the shelf of Barnes & Nobles, Winners Give Up, what does that mean a little bit? And kind of break it down to why is a goodbye.
Yeah, it's a play on words because the first thing that comes to mind is, well, no, winners don't give up. Winners drive on. They play through pain. They persevere. They don't ever quit. And so the premise is there are certain things, certain bad habits, certain baggage that if we shed that, if we give these things up, we are one step closer to being a whole and happy person, but one step closer to whatever goal that is that we're going after. And this book, it's a quick, it's not very long, but there's 53 some different examples of things to give up, and they're really meant to help people think and kind of give a little paradigm shift, and it's really meant to be read more than once. You read it through, read titles or chapters that resonate with you or stick out, and then set it down and go back to it and read it again, or at different points in time, different things are going to make sense. And then, start working towards shedding some of your own negative stuff, getting negativity out of your life, dropping this bad habit or that. That's really the purpose of it.
Hey, James, are you a former athlete?
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that,
mediocre one.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Because Winners Give Up is it's a lot of sports analogies there, and they always use a lot of time in sports. When you're out there in the 100-degree weather, you want to quit doing that mile run, whatever, so you don't give up. So I like that because I always use sports analogies when I'm talking, speaking, stuff like that. So I appreciate that. What do you through a lot of your consulting, a lot of your work? Who do you find are the ones who really have the fortitude not to give up? I mean, what's some of the makings of most people you talk to who weren't giver-uppers, who did not give up? Was it their upbringing? Was it upbringing in bad situations? Was it family of means? Was it former athletes? Was it former athletes' parents, children? Is there a typical pattern to people who don't give up? I don't know if it makes any sense or not, but you know what I'm saying? Is there a pattern you found in your speaking that you met people who don't give up from a certain group?
Well, yeah, there a pattern. Yes, I mean, and it's evident across the spectrum, and you could find a multitude of stories in modern day athletes. I'm trying to think of somebody, like Michael Orr's story. There's somebody that came out of a horrible background, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can find it in business. Even somebody that everybody would know. Tony Robbins had a real harsh experience when he was a young man, and has been through several, life challenges. That self-made men, Richard Branson, if we're talking about big names. But you know what? It's also the mom that has a flower shop down the street that has, 3 kids at home and a husband that's laid off, that's not giving up, that's keeping her kids fed, and they're scraping by on, a little shop and not that much revenue and hardly any profits, but she gets up and she's in the shop every day. Or a guy that has a small tooling factory. The examples are all around us.
Hey, we're getting close to, man, shoot. Before I want to go to another question, just talk a little bit about the Madco Group. That's your company, right? Madco?
Yeah, Madco, yeah.
Okay, talk a little bit about that.
Madco. Well, it's really this boutique consulting company, and right now its function is to work with, like I said, select clients where it's mutually beneficial. I do a lot of work in the Michigan area where I'm currently living with minority contractors and minority groups on a pro bono basis, and then work with all variety of other companies, as it makes sense. And a lot of it's this strategy and turnaround of revenue production type conversations that we have.
Very good. One of the questions I sent you was, I know you work with companies to realize their potential. What are some of the things that you see that holds most companies back from reaching their potential?
Yeah, this also kind of hinges the answer on the size of the company, whether for a smaller company, say $50 million down. Yeah. The company doesn't reach potential because generally there's either not good vision from the owner, they don't really understand where they're going, or they don't, even at a revenue level of $50 million, they don't have proper accountability or expectations in place. Division managers, middle managers aren't properly empowered, and you've created a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of people stepping on each other's toes. They haven't really quite worked out, especially when you're in that 10 to maybe 25 or $30 million range, how to organize the business of the business. A lot of principals, a lot of owners get really caught up on the expertise of their own product or offering, and they forget the mechanics of running the business of a business, which really becomes their job, and they wear way too many hats, no matter what level that they're at. And they haven't really laid out proper accountability, laid out proper expectations for people and the organization as a whole under them. So what you have is an organization that's crippled because it can't function without decisions, even in very small level things of a small group of people. And that really bogs things down. It causes resentment and inefficiencies. So really organizations are fail from the top down. A snake absolutely rots from the head down.
Right. That's wonderful, Sam. Appreciate that. Hey, James, we're down to the final comment. Before we get down to that, though, please tell us, how do we follow up with you to get your books and to go to your website?
Yeah, thank you, Hollis. The books, you can get them at Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com if you want them online. I have the website winnersgiveup, oneword.com. You can get the book there. And if you'd like to shoot me an email, or if you have questions about something that's going on in your personal life or business, you can go to the Madco Group, MADKOGROUP.com, or email me. I'll give you my personal email address there, JMAIOHO@madcogroup.com. And I'm happy to respond to anything.
Outstanding. Okay, down to our final comment, sir. You've done a lot of things so far. You could be doing a lot of things for a long period of time. When it's all said and done, when you stop working with companies for good, you're going to hit the beach and relax. What does James want to be remembered for professionally in closing?
Well, professionally, it's funny. I was thinking about this overnight. I've first and foremost, before I do any of this stuff, I'm a full-time single dad of two really wonderful,
great,
human beings, and I want to be remembered for them having the tools to be happy and successful in their own lives, no matter what that means to them. And professionally, I'm not concerned past helping whoever is in front of me at the moment, and the rest will take care of itself.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Hey, James, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. Be fun, have fun, and we'll talk to you real soon, sir.
Very good, Hal. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James. Bye-bye.
Great, thanks.
All right, guys, there's our show for the week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everybody, for the comments in the chat room. Okay, it's Mother's Day weekend. Call Mom, say hi.
Happy Mother's Day.
There you go, okay? Happy Mother's Day. Have a great weekend. Hug your mom. Say hi, Mom. Give her a card. Give her some candies. Give her strawberries, chocolate strawberries, whatever you do. All right, it's Mama Boy weekend. Enjoy that part. Again, thank you very much for joining the Hollis Chapman Show. We had 2 great guests on today. Gave us some great stuff. Don't be afraid to follow up. We always work hard to give you best content so you can enjoy the show. Just follow up. That's the whole thing. Follow up with our guests, okay? I want to thank you very much for joining in. I want to thank all the guests for popping in today. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I'll see you next time.